Beautiful. Today we're going to talk more about unit conversions. Let's do some examples of things that we did yesterday. So let's say I gave you this conversion factor. 1.6 kilometers equals 1 mile. So you have a conversion factor. Now let's do 3 different examples of that. Number 1, can you convert actually, let's do a bigger number. That one seems a little odd. Can you convert 5 miles into kilometers? So what we did yesterday, we start out by writing this number down, 5 miles. And then sometimes we just made it into a fraction because we know that we're going to be using a lot of fractions. We multiply this times a unit multiplier. So we have to look back at our conversion factors to find the unit multiplier. I know that 1.6 kilometers equals 1 mile. Whenever you're writing these fractions, not the first one. The first one is just a number, right? This is not a unit multiplier. This is different. But all the other fractions you write will be unit multipliers. You should be saying in your head, is 1.6 kilometers equal to 1 mile? Is that true? Yeah, it is, because that's the conversion factor I was given. Every fraction you write, the top is equal to the bottom. And then you should also be saying to yourself, will miles cancel with miles? Yeah, it will, because I have miles up top and miles down bottom. And that's what it takes to cancel. Up top, down bottom. Right? So I cancel out the miles. I have 5 times 1.6, which I believe is 8, and my unit is kilometers. So unless I did some math wrong in my head, 5 miles is 8 kilometers. That's our final answer. What about this one? Convert 24 kilometers to miles. Convert 24 kilometers to miles. So same thing. Start off by writing this number, 24 kilometers. I'm not going to write it over 1 this time. I want to show you kind of what it looks like if we don't do that. So 24 kilometers times, okay, this time I know that I want kilometers in the bottom. So I'm going to say 1 mile over 1.6 kilometers. So I'm going off the recording a little bit. The kilometers will still cancel because this is still technically a numerator. And then I have 24 divided by 1.6. 24 divided by 1.6 is, what is that, like 15? Does anyone have a calculator? Go ahead and type in 24 divided by 1.6. Is it 15? Okay. So my answer is 15 miles. All right? And now I want to do one that we didn't look at yesterday. All right? So let's do a new example. This is actually going to be the exact same thing. Okay? We're going to have the same type of problem, even though it doesn't look the same. I'm going to say convert 16 kilometers per hour. We'll write it like that. To miles per hour. And I'll write miles per hour like that. Convert 16 kilometers per hour into miles per hour. Well, let's just see what happens if I write this 16 kilometers per hour. I'm writing it a little bit differently than they wrote it in the problem. The key thing to recognize is the hours, because it's per hour, is in the bottom of my fraction. I could write 16 kilometers per 1 hour. That's the same thing. 16 kilometers per hour is the same thing as 16 kilometers per 1 hour. Same exact thing. Yeah?
I put like X hours, for example, just because X makes it better, it makes more sense to my brain. Would that be the same thing?
No. There's no unknowns in this number. There is a different way of doing unit conversion. My guess is this is what you're thinking of, using proportions. In which case you would write X hours down here, but that actually wouldn't apply to this problem. Yeah. So for this, I'm teaching you a really specific way of doing unit conversion. It's definitely not the only way. There are other ways that will work. But for this, 16 kilometers per 1 hour. Okay? I haven't incorporated the miles yet. That's not a part of what I'm doing. But I need this same conversion factor to convert kilometers to miles. Think about it. The hours are really staying the same. I'm not really converting hours, so I don't really want to touch this. I want to kind of leave the hours alone. So I want kilometers to cancel out, and I want to end up with miles. So I need to think of a conversion factor, right, that converts kilometers to miles, which I already have up here. I know that 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So I make the fraction with miles up top because that's what I want to end up with. Kilometers down bottom because that will cancel with the kilometers up top. So now I can cross off kilometers because it's in the top and the bottom. I know that my unit is going to be miles per hour. Miles over hours, because I have miles here and hours here. And then I just take 16. I'm going to write out an intermediate step that we did yesterday, divided by 1.6. I could even write 16 times 1, right? I could write the times 1s, but I know that the 1s don't really make a difference. Now in my calculator, I'm going to do 16 divided by 1.6, which should be 10 miles per hour. So 16 kilometers per hour is 10 miles per hour. Now if you ever have to go drive in Canada, right, you'll be able to figure out the speed limits. Yeah.
I have a question, but I kind of understand what you're doing, but for, like, how do you get, do you just do the top times each other and the bottom times each other? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
To get this, I just take all the numbers in the top multiplied together, all the numbers in the bottom multiplied together, and then I just divide after it. Yeah. Let's do another example. Let's do one that doesn't work out very well. Because I keep making these work out really nicely, but in real life, I mean, here's more of like a real life problem, right? Convert, let's say, I mean, like the speed limit on a road might be like 45 miles per hour, right? 45 mph, 45 miles per hour. Let's say we want to know how fast that is in kilometers per hour. And I'm writing these differently to show you there's different ways of writing miles per hour, kilometers per hour. It doesn't matter which one you use. When you write your fractions, when you do the conversion, you're going to want to write it like this. 45, I like to write miles like mi, and I like to write hours hr. I don't know why. You could just write it h if you really wanted to. So 45 miles per hour, right? I made it into a fraction. I'm trying trying to convert miles into kilometers. The hours is staying the same, right? Hours and hours. So I don't really want to touch the hours. I just have to convert miles to kilometers. I need a unit multiplier that converts miles into kilometers. So how about this one? 1.6 kilometers over 1 mile. Do you guys see that the miles, the unit will cancel? And I'll end up with kilometers per hour. So that's why I chose to write it that way. And again, I'm checking in my head, okay, is 1.6 kilometers equal to 1 mile? Yes, it is. Yeah, that's my conversion factor. I did that part correctly. Does miles cancel? Okay, miles cancels. It's in the top, it's in the bottom. Now I have this. 45 times 1.6 divided by 1. That's the only thing in the bottom. And then I have, kilometers per hour. So in my calculator, I'm going to type in, what is 45 times 1.6? Did anyone do that? Yeah. 71. Okay. 71. You got 72? Wait. Someone type it into your calculator. 72?
Yeah.
Okay. So it did actually work out to an integer because we're converting this way. But anyway, it's not quite as pretty of a number. 72. 72 kilometers per hour is 45 miles per hour. We did that in just one step. Because all we really had to convert was converting miles to kilometers. I haven't talked about this, but I also like to ask myself when I'm done, like, wait, does that make sense? Right? Sometimes you'll do a conversion and the answer will make no sense, which is a clue that you might have made a mistake. So I just asked myself, could 45 miles per hour really be 72 kilometers per hour?
Yeah.
If I go 45 miles in 1 hour, does that mean that I went 72 kilometers? Yeah, because a kilometer, right, is shorter than a mile. It takes 1.6 kilometers to make 1 mile. So going 45 miles, of course I'm going to go more kilometers.
It's 0.6 miles.
Right? Yeah.
Wait, isn't that how long is it from here to Albuquerque?
It's probably about 45 miles. Something like that. It's like 54 miles. We're on the south side of Santa Fe, and it depends which part of Albuquerque you want to get to, obviously. But yeah, it's somewhere around 50 miles.
And then like going to Denver is like 500, 600 miles? Yeah.
Denver's like 500 something miles.
Dang. We should do that. Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay, well, I want to show you something else. So, let's see. Let's reverse it. So let's say I have a number like, on a highway. Well, actually, highways in New Mexico, we go faster than this. But maybe the speed limit, on like a state road is 60 miles per hour. And I want to figure out, so I'm going to convert 60 miles per hour to miles per minute. So I want to figure out how many miles will I go every minute if I'm going 60 miles per hour. But this is one of those ones where some of you are probably going, wait, that makes sense, I know that, but let's figure out how do we set it up. Okay? The conversion factor you're going to need is that 60 minutes equals 1 hour. We'll need this conversion factor. Okay? So make sure you wrote it down in your notes. Have all this down in your notes. Now I'm going to set this problem up the same way. 60 miles per hour times a unit multiplier. A here's the key. I'm trying to convert hours into minutes. Look, I'm starting with miles per hour. I want to have miles in my answer, but I want to have it per minute. How am I going to cancel off the hours? Yeah.
And you put minutes on the top?
Put minutes on the top. So you're saying I make a fraction like this, like 60 minutes over 1 hour? Let's think about it. This makes sense, right? We want it to cancel, so we put it in the bottom, right?
But then there's no hours on the top.
Wait. Yeah. The reason we put it in the bottom before was because we were always trying to cancel with something in the top. Also, if we did this, we would get like 3,000 miles per minute. Does that make sense?
No.
If we're going 60 miles per hour, are we going 3,000 miles a minute? No. So again, that's why I always say, make sure your answer makes sense, right? So, what else could I do then? It's not going to work if I do that fraction. It's not going to make sense. It's not going to cancel. Yeah. Yeah, what if I put the hours on the top? So 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Oh. Now look, the hours will cancel. I'll end up with 60 divided by 60, or 60 times 1 divided by 60, miles per minute, which equals 1 mile per minute. So when you're going 60 miles an hour, you're going to pass a mile every minute. Right? 1 mile per minute. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's do, I want to do one more example of this and show you one other thing. Yeah.
What's New Mexico highways?
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Oh, okay.
So New Mexico's, most of the highways here, like the interstates, the speed limit is 75 miles per hour. Let's convert this. Maybe we have a friend who's visiting us, right? From any other country, pretty much. And so we want to tell them not only how fast you're going to go every minute, but also, because they might be more familiar, this person is more familiar with kilometers and miles. So let's convert miles per hour to kilometers per minute. So I have to convert both miles to kilometers and hours to minutes. It goes like this. 75 miles per hour. Oops. I didn't need to write that like that. 75 miles per hour. It doesn't matter which one I do first. Let's say I want to convert miles to kilometers. First, I would do this. 1.6 kilometers over 1 mile. The miles will cancel. I'll have kilometers. Now I'm going to convert hours to minutes. So I say 1 hour is 60 minutes. I have hours up top and hours down bottom, so those will cancel. Look at what units I'll have. Kilometers per minute. But how many conversion factors did I have to use? 1, 2. So sometimes, as we work on these, sometimes we'll have to use more than one conversion factor to get to the units that we want. And this is an example of that. Now I just simply take all the numbers up top, 75 times 1.6, we could say times 1, over all the numbers down bottom, 1 times 60. And we know our unit is kilometers per minute. I'm right at the edge, so I'm going to come down here. Okay. Shoop. In a calculator, someone type this in. 75 times 1.6. What do you get with 75 times 1.6? Yeah. What was it? 120? 120 over 60 miles, 60 minutes per hour. 1 times 60 is a 60. So now I don't even need a calculator to do this. 120 divided by 60 kilometers per minute. That's just 2. Wow, that's kind of weird. We kind of discovered something cool. On New Mexico's highways, if you're going the speed limit exactly, you're going 2 kilometers every minute. That's kind of weird. All right. So what was the difference here again? I had to use 2 unit multipliers, 2 conversion factors, or in this case, really 2 unit multipliers. Uh-huh. So the first one converted miles to kilometers. The second one converted hours to minutes. Now, I'm going to show you one other example of when we would use 2 or even 3 conversion factors. And this is an example that's not obvious, which is why I'm going to show it to you. So, have you guys ever heard of something called square inches? Square inches measure what?
Area.
Area. Yeah. Area. Okay. So, if we're converting between square inches, we're gonna use the same conversion. Oops. The same conversion factor. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters. This is not talking about square inches and square centimeters. But we can use it to convert from square inches to square centimeters. So let's say I had something like 3 square inches, and someone wanted me to convert that into square centimeters. Square centimeters. There's another way of writing square inches and square centimeters. We can do it like this. So either way that you see it, it doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. Okay? So this is the same process. I take my unit here, 3 inches squared. Let's make it into a fraction. Just say over 1. Times, I want inches in the bottom, so I say 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. Now, what does square mean again? Like in algebra, what does square mean? Yeah.
Like something times.
Yeah, so would you agree with me that technically this says 3 inches times inches? That's the same thing as 3 square inches. So if I have square inches and I want to cancel it out, 1 unit multiplier isn't enough to do it. 2. This will cancel with one of these. So I have to do the same thing again over 1 inch. And now that inch will cancel with the second inches here. But then also think about what I just did. My unit is now centimeters times centimeters, which is square centimeters or or centimeters squared. So if I have square units, I have to use that conversion factor twice to convert to the next unit. All right. This one's definitely not going to turn out very pretty. Someone type this into your calculator. 3 times 2.5 times 2.5. 2.54, sorry. Luckily, we just have to divide that by 1 when we're done. So
193548.
193548. Yeah.
like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a really big number. Wait, are you guys sure?
Oh, wait, one.
It's
one
19.9
nine point.
points.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I was getting a little worried. I was like, that seems like kind of too big. All right. Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters squared. So this is our answer. If we had only done it once, we would have gotten a totally different answer. So with square units, we have to use our same conversion factor twice. What if I have cubic units? Anyone want to guess how many times I would use it? 3 times. So to convert from cubic inches to cubic centimeters, I would have to use that conversion factor 3 times to cancel all 3. Okay? I'm going to let you guys do that one though. I want to give you a little bit of time to practice this